Hello scholars, welcome back to the Kemet Maasai Academy as we continue our series of motivational videos for students of all ages. As usual, I'm reading from the Student's Master Plan, Hardcore Rules for a Lifetime of Success. And the topic that I'm looking at for this video is Stand on the Shoulders of Giants. What a luxury to live at a time when so many battles have already been fought, so many principles have already been discovered, so many have paid the price for privileges we now enjoy. Of course, there are more battles to fight and many more principles to be discovered. But at least we have at our disposal the notes of trials and errors, the grand experiments and epic failures. At least we know what not to do again. It's a common saying that history repeats itself, and it does to a great extent. However, we have the capacity to learn from experience and to make change. And so I think that for this present generation, which is, in my opinion, the most fortunate generation, in the sense that no other group of humans, as far as we know, in history, have had at their disposal so much power in the hands of the average man, woman, and child. This is largely due to improvements in technology, the exposure to information, improvements in transportation. So the world is pretty much shrinking, and technology allows us now to communicate with each other no matter where on the planet you find yourself. You could be half the world away and you are able to speak directly in real time to someone on the other end of the planet. Well, we know the planet is round, but you know what I mean. At the other end, half the world away from you, and you are able to communicate with persons, not just one person. You're able to communicate with a mass of people in real time. And I'm reminded of what Sadhguru said. I was listening to a video of Sadhguru. He's if you don't know who Sadhguru is, he's an Indian mystic, a guru, and he does a lot of videos. He addresses a lot of conferences and colleges and so on. And I remember he was speaking about the fact that this, just like what I just said, this generation has at its disposal the power to communicate. And he was saying, prophets of yore, the prophets of old days, if they had a message to give to the people, they literally had to either walk from land to land, which would take years, at least months, or they would just stay in one locality and probably address a couple dozen people, the most 100 people or so. Now you can imagine, without a microphone, how many of those persons would actually hear clearly what is being said. And so the message was, there was a strong possibility that the message was not heard properly, and so the messengers would carry it. So those who were fortunate to be there, who would hear it, probably didn't hear it properly in the first place, and then would carry it for miles to their other locality, and so the message would become diluted, distorted, misinterpreted. Now we have the ability to speak to thousands, even millions of people through the internet, through other devices of telecommunication, and they will hear exactly what we are saying in real time. We can record what we are saying, we can reproduce what we are saying in print, and put it in storage systems, retrieval systems, and have these spread. No other generation has had the ability to do this. And so, as the title suggests, we are standing on the shoulders of giants, in the sense that we are reaping the rewards of everything that humanity before us have invested in terms of time, effort, research, practice, trial and error, given their lives in some cases, suffered discrimination, suffered persecution, so we can benefit from the theories, the formulae, all these discoveries. We are now able to gather all of that together over centuries, millennia of human civilization. We have access to all of that. The average child has access to all of that, and we take for granted that just a few centuries ago, the limited information that existed was only available to a very small fraction of the people who lived. That was the nobility, the aristocracy, the priests, the monarchs. They are the ones who would have access to this. Now, today, a child has access. Many children have their cellular phone. They have access to the internet, and they can pretty much they have access to information. Albeit we screen and we regulate because it's children, but in theory, they would have access to any information they want. Information that only kings and queens, as a matter of fact, kings and queens did not even have access to this information that we so readily take for granted now. Right? So we are indeed walking around on the shoulders of giants. It's a position that we take for granted, and we shouldn't. We should appreciate the fact that we are living in this time, and we should use it for good. We should use it to the benefit of humanity and see how we can manipulate that, capitalize on that. It would all have been in vain if we do not learn from their mistakes, take heed to the lessons they have taught us, and run with it. Marcus Garvey cautioned us that if you associate with people who are mediocre, you will be nothing more than mediocre. If you intend on being great, associate with great men and women, or at least with their great minds through books. Not only has the wheel already been invented, but we also have the axle, gears, chassis, engine, the whole works. So let's drive. The giants have already given us much of the raw material that we require. It is for us to harness them and put them to constructive use. If you want to see far ahead, stand somewhere very high. If you want your essays to stand out, read the works of the great minds. Quote them and tie in their ideas with yours. These giants do not mind you sitting on their shoulders. It's one of the many advantages of having giants around. And some of these giants, many of these giants are no longer with us in the flesh, but metaphorically we sit on their shoulders, and it's a unique and prestigious vantage point. Now, I would recommend that you read. There's a number of books I'm going to suggest to you that you read from persons who I consider to be giants. So I'm talking about men like Marcus Maasai Garvey. You can read the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey. You can read books by Dr. Joseph Ben Yochanan, whom we call affectionately Dr. Ben. He has several books. You could start with The Black Man of the Nile and His Family, which tells you about African civilization, which was the origin of human civilization along the banks of the Nile, Sudan, Egypt, Ethiopia. So you can read The Black Man of the Nile and His Family. You can read the autobiography of Malcolm X. You can read about Nikola Tesla, a scientist who had so many great inventions and such a humble human being with all of that. Read about the great scientists whose work contributed to all the devices that we have now and take so much for granted. Many of them dedicated their entire lives to the study, and some died as a result of exposure during their research because they did not know the dangers. They were not aware of the dangers, and they died as a result, or they were persecuted because they lived during a time when persons weren't too open to new ideas, to new ways of thinking, new methods of doing things. And so if you suggested something new, you were seen as, a radical, you were seen as a heretic, you were seen as, and you were either excommunicated, sent away, or imprisoned, or killed. You could read about scientists like George Washington Carver, Louis Latimer. You could also read about women like Queen Makari Hatshepsut of Egypt, who was the first woman who ruled as queen and king of the first woman in the world to rule as queen and king. You could read about Shirley Chisholm, who was the first female to run for president in the United States. This was in the 1960s. Not only was she a black woman, but she was the first woman in general to run for the office of President of the United States. Now we have to, and there are so many, there are dozens and dozens of other persons you could read about to, see these are giants. These are persons who did so much, gave up their time, gave up their efforts, dedicated their lives to serving humanity, to serving their nation, serving their race in whatever capacity they found to be able to do so. So we need to take advantage of the fact that they lived and they did all these great things. Now we have to go and read about them or watch videos about them, enlighten ourselves so we can take advantage of that fact, right? And walk around on their shoulders, meaning we can benefit from the vision they had. The higher you are, the further you see. So associate yourself with giants and allow them to carry you, and you will see further. You'll be able to make better decisions, and you'll be able to put yourself in a better position to take advantage of opportunities. If you have been motivated by this video, please share it so others may be motivated as well. Remember, if you subscribe to the Kemet Maasai Academy, you have access not only to the motivational videos, but also mathematics videos from grade 4 to grade 11, and this is something I feel you should take advantage of and share those videos with others so they can benefit. So scholars, I'll see you in the next video.